It was my wedding day, and the ceremony had begun. I was at the back of the church watching the bridal party make their way down the aisle. I was standing alone because earlier I had told my dad that I was going to walk myself down the aisle. I didn't like the symbolism of a man giving me away to another man. I think that mostly confused my dad, but he was gracious about it. And just as I was about to begin my walk down the aisle, I became aware of a muscle in my right gluteus maximus. Now, this muscle was not just twitching. It was performing an entire Olympic-level gymnast routine. So now, as I was making my way down the aisle, I didn't want people looking at my butt. Problem being, the dress was saying, "Please do." But I made it to the altar. The ceremony was beautiful, and the reception was everything I hoped it would be. As it was winding down, a guest said to me, "Thank you for inviting me to your grown-up wedding." Now, I wasn't totally sure what he meant, but it started my heart pounding because I felt like he had reached in and pulled out a nugget of data I did not want to look at. And that is that was not my first wedding. I had had one years earlier, and that wedding had been anything but a grown-up one. Back then, I was going to the University of Minnesota and working at a Perkins near campus. A customer asked me out, and within a short time, we fell in love. He was fun and funny and smart, and he looked like Johnny Depp, when that was still a good thing. And I moved in with him. He lived above the Snow White laundromat on Franklin Avenue and had a mime for a roommate. And one Saturday, we were talking over the hum coming up from below, and we decided to get married, and that the following Saturday would be the wedding day. Now, when you live in South Minneapolis and you're going to get married at Minneapolis City Hall, it's not exactly eloping, but I didn't tell my parents. I knew they could see something with those fully developed prefrontal cortexes of theirs that I couldn't. On that Saturday, we gathered at the judge's chamber. The roommate was there in whiteface. One of our friends, 1069, had legally changed his name to a number. But the ceremony was brief, and we had no reception planned. So we went to a park where we served neither food nor anything to drink. And the first few years of our marriage was kind of like that day. It felt like that day. It was a mix of fun and love and chaos and dysfunction. But when we found out we were going to have a baby, we were over the moon. And when the baby was born, we loved her beyond measure. The next day, I stopped into a bathroom on the maternity floor. There was a sign on the wall. It said, "Mothers." A thrill. I'm a mother. It said, "Teach your daughters." I also have a daughter. I am so going to read this sign. It said, "Mothers, teach your daughters to wipe from front to back." I was in a bathroom after all, but that message really got in my head. Because what it said to me is that there is no aspect of this little person's life that is not going to require my full attention and devotion, and it was time for me to grow up. Now, I wanted to stay in my marriage, but eventually I realized I wouldn't be able to attain stability within it. Single parenting was challenging, but I felt like my life was moving forward. And when I met the man who would become my forever husband, we took our time. And when we were sure, we decided to pay for our own wedding and give each other the gift of a beautiful day. But was that second wedding then a grown-up one? I think in most ways it was. But for me, when I tell myself I'm grown, I'm more likely to miss signs, whether they're in a bathroom or coming from my own body. This summer, I said the final goodbye to my dad. And for the first time in 3.5 decades, I allowed myself to feel regret that I didn't let him walk me down the aisle. sorry. I really think that had I been grown, I would have known that love is more important than symbolism. And besides, it would have felt so good to hold onto his arm. And I really think that's what that overachiever of a glute muscle was trying to tell me. Thank you.